Have you ever been surrounded by people, maybe at a party, a family gathering, or even with close friends, and still felt completely alone? Like you're watching life happen around you through glass, present but not connected, seen but not truly known? This isn't just introversion. This isn't shyness. This is something deeper that millions of people experience but rarely talk about. The loneliest moment isn't when you're physically alone. It's when you're in a room full of people and still feel invisible. This isn't about being antisocial or damaged. This is about a specific psychological pattern that researchers have been studying for decades. A pattern rooted in attachment theory, social cognition, and the way your brain processes connection. And once you understand it, so much about yourself or someone you love suddenly makes sense. Today, I'm going to break down the real psychology behind people who feel lonely even in groups. You'll discover what causes this profound sense of disconnection, why it has nothing to do with how many people are around you, and what actually creates the feeling of true belonging that's been missing. This is about understanding, not judgment. This is about recognition, not blame. Let's explore this together. Engagement moment. Before we dive in, drop a comment. Have you ever felt this way, or do you know someone who seems lonely even when surrounded by people? If this resonated with your experience or helped you understand someone you love, share it. Comment one thing you recognized in yourself. Subscribe if you want more content that sees you. In the 1970s, psychologist Dr. John Bowlby developed attachment theory, discovering something profound: the quality of connection matters infinitely more than the quantity. What started as research on child development revealed something that applies throughout life. Humans don't just need proximity to others. We need to feel truly seen, understood, and valued. This pattern shows up everywhere. In college students surrounded by classmates but feeling isolated. In married people who feel alone next to their partner. In social butterflies who can work a room but go home feeling empty. Understanding this isn't just about fixing loneliness, it's about recognizing one of the most common yet misunderstood emotional experiences of modern life. Here's what happens in your brain: when you're in a group but feel lonely, your brain is detecting a mismatch between surface-level social interaction and deep emotional connection. Your anterior cingulate cortex, the part that processes social pain, lights up similarly to physical pain. But here's the crucial part: your prefrontal cortex recognizes you're technically not alone, creating cognitive dissonance. You feel lonely but think you shouldn't, which makes the loneliness even worse. This research spans decades, from Bowlby's attachment work to modern neuroscience studies on social connection. Dr. John Cacioppo's loneliness research at the University of Chicago confirms this isn't rare, it's one of the most common forms of loneliness in our hyper-connected world. Sources will be in the description. Let me break down 5 psychological reasons why some people feel profoundly lonely even when surrounded by others. 1. Authenticity gap. People who feel lonely in groups often experience what psychologists call an authenticity gap, the distance between who they really are and who they present to others. How it works: you're physically present, but you're performing a socially acceptable version of yourself. You laugh at jokes you don't find funny. You discuss topics you don't care about. You agree with opinions you don't share. And with every small compromise, the real you feels more isolated. Real-world examples. Work settings: someone stays quiet during team lunches because their interests don't match the group conversation, feeling like an outsider despite being included. Family gatherings: feeling like no one asks about what truly matters to you, only surface-level updates. Friend groups: being the one who adjusts your personality to fit different friend circles, never feeling fully yourself anywhere. Why you don't notice it in others: they often seem socially successful. They're smiling, participating, engaging. But internally, they're disconnecting because none of it feels real. Red flags to recognize this. Feeling exhausted after social events, not energized. Thinking no one really knows me despite having many acquaintances. Sensing that relationships would end if you stopped initiating or performing. The psychology behind it, research on authentic self-expression shows that hiding your true self creates what's called surface acting. Your brain knows you're performing, which prevents genuine connection and triggers loneliness. Interactive moment, pause and think, when was the last time you felt completely yourself around others? If you can't remember, you might be experiencing this authenticity gap. 2. Different depth operating system. Some people's brains are literally wired for deeper connection than most social interactions provide. Psychologists call this high intimacy need combined with low small talk tolerance. The 4 stages. Stage 1, early social attempts. As children and teens, they try to connect the way others do but feel consistently unsatisfied. Stage 2, recognition of difference. They realize they process connection differently. They need vulnerability, depth, and meaning in conversations. Stage 3, social exhaustion. Surface level socializing becomes draining rather than fulfilling because their depth needs aren't being met. Stage 4, selective withdrawal. They become more selective about social engagement, preferring solitude over shallow connection. Why it's so isolating? Most social situations operate on surface level. Parties, networking events, casual hangouts, they're designed for breadth, not depth. If your brain needs depth to feel connected, you'll feel lonely in 95% of social settings. Recognition exercise. If you leave most social events thinking that was nice but I still feel empty, your brain likely needs deeper connection than what was offered. Neurological basis. Studies on highly sensitive persons, HSPs, show certain people have more active mirror neurons and process emotional information more deeply. They're not antisocial, they're operating on a different connection frequency. 3. Hypervigilant self-monitoring. Research on social anxiety shows that some people experience loneliness in groups because they're spending all their mental energy monitoring how they're being perceived rather than actually connecting. What it is, your brain is running a constant background program. How am I coming across? Did that sound stupid? Are they judging me? Do I look awkward? This self-surveillance makes genuine connection impossible. How it creates loneliness. You're so busy being an observer of yourself that you can't be present with others. It's like watching a movie of your life instead of living it. You're there, but not really. The psychology behind it. This often stems from early experiences where you learned that being yourself wasn't safe or accepted. Your brain developed a protective mechanism, constant monitoring to avoid rejection. But this very mechanism prevents the authentic connection that would heal the loneliness. Instant recognition. After social events, you replay conversations obsessively, analyzing everything you said. You remember your performance more vividly than others' presence. Real-world impact. Dr. Ellen Hendrickson's research on social anxiety shows this is exhausting and creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. Your anxiety about being judged makes you seem distant, which increases your loneliness. 4. Chronic feeling of being misunderstood. Some people feel lonely in groups because they carry a persistent sense that no one truly understands them, even when people are trying. What happens? People engage with the version of you they think they understand, but that version doesn't match your internal experience. So every interaction, even positive ones, reinforces the feeling that you're unknown. Examples across contexts. Creative individuals. Friends praise their work but miss the meaning behind it entirely. Deep thinkers. People respond to what they said, but not what they meant. Emotionally complex people. Others offer solutions when they just needed to be heard. Key insight: this isn't about others being bad at understanding. It's often about having internal experiences that are genuinely hard to communicate or outside others' reference points. Why it matters. Dr. Carl Rogers' research on empathy shows that feeling understood is one of the core human needs. Without it, loneliness persists regardless of how many people surround you. The devastating part: you can be loved, valued, and included, but still feel profoundly alone because no one seems to see the real you. 5. Attachment wounds creating connection barriers. Attachment theory explains that early relationship patterns create templates for adult connection. People with insecure attachment styles often feel lonely in groups because their internal model of relationships expects disconnection. How it works. Anxious attachment, you're present but constantly worried others will abandon or reject you, which prevents you from relaxing into connection. Avoidant attachment, you're physically there but emotionally distanced because vulnerability feels threatening. Disorganized attachment, you simultaneously crave and fear closeness, creating internal confusion that manifests as loneliness. Why groups make it worse? Groups require you to trust multiple people simultaneously. If your attachment system flags relationships as unsafe, you'll feel lonely even in the middle of community because your nervous system never fully relaxes. The neuroscience, your amygdala, threat detection, stays partially activated in social situations, preventing your brain from registering the experience as truly safe and connected. Recognition pattern, if you feel lonely in groups but deeply connected in one-on-one settings, attachment patterns might be the core issue. Groups trigger different attachment fears than individual relationships. Important note, this isn't your fault. These patterns formed as adaptive responses to early experiences. Recognizing them is the first step toward healing. Bonus insight, the social media paradox. Modern research shows social media has created a new form of group loneliness, being digitally surrounded but emotionally isolated. The mechanism, you're in group chats, seeing everyone's posts, commenting, and engaging. But it's all performative and curated. You're connected to everyone's highlight reel while your real struggles remain invisible. Why it intensifies loneliness? Your brain registers that you're with people digitally, so it tells you that you shouldn't feel lonely. But your nervous system knows that screens don't provide the embodied co-regulation that in-person connection offers. Result, you feel lonely while technically surrounded by hundreds or thousands of connections, and you blame yourself for not being satisfied with what should be enough. So how do you address this profound loneliness that persists despite being around people? Strategy 1, Quality over Quantity Revolution. What it is, radically accepting that you might need fewer, deeper connections rather than more, broader ones. How to implement. Identify the 2 to 3 relationships where you feel most seen and understood. Invest more time and vulnerability in those specific connections. Give yourself permission to decline surface-level social invitations without guilt. Prioritize 1 3-hour deep conversation over 5 1-hour casual hangouts. Why it works. Research on social fulfillment shows that having one person who truly knows you reduces loneliness more than having 20 casual friends. Your brain needs depth, so give it depth. Real-world application. Next time you feel obligated to attend something that you know will leave you feeling empty, choose to call one person who really gets you instead. Notice how different the two experiences feel. Timeline. Most people report significant reduction in loneliness within 4 to 6 weeks of prioritizing depth over breadth. Strategy 2, Authenticity practice in low-stakes situations. The principle, you can't go from total performance to total authenticity overnight. Practice small truth-telling to rebuild your authentic connection muscle. Implementation steps. Share one genuine opinion in conversations instead of just agreeing. Admit when you don't know something rather than pretending. Express a real preference when asked instead of saying I don't care. Mention something you're genuinely interested in, even if it's not trendy. Common mistake, waiting for the perfect moment to be authentic. Start with tiny truths in safe situations. Success indicator, you'll know this is working when you leave conversations feeling tired but satisfied rather than exhausted and empty. Why this heals loneliness? Your brain needs evidence that being real doesn't lead to rejection. Each small successful experience rewires your social safety system. Strategy 3, Seek environments designed for depth. Quick protection, Stop forcing yourself into environments structurally designed for surface interaction and expecting depth. Long-term skill: identify and participate in contexts that naturally facilitate deeper connection. Small group discussions about meaningful topics. Service or volunteer work where you collaborate toward shared goals. Classes or workshops where learning together creates natural bonding. Support groups or therapy groups explicitly designed for vulnerability. Why this works: you're not broken for not connecting at parties. Parties aren't designed for the kind of connection you need. Find environments aligned with your connection style. Resource recommendation: look for communities built around shared values or depth-oriented activities. Book clubs, philosophy discussion groups, mastermind groups, spiritual communities often attract people seeking deeper connection. Strategy 4: address underlying attachment patterns. What it requires: working with a therapist trained in attachment theory to understand and heal early relationship wounds. Why professional help matters: attachment patterns are deep and often unconscious. They require skilled guidance to identify and transform. What to look for: therapists specializing in attachment-based therapy, EMDR for trauma, or emotionally focused therapy, EFT. Timeline: attachment healing is measured in months to years, not weeks. But the transformation is profound and lasting. Important reminder: seeking therapy isn't weakness, it's recognizing that some forms of loneliness have roots too deep for self-help alone. The bigger picture: understanding loneliness in groups isn't about fixing something broken in you. It's about recognizing that human connection is complex, and our modern social structures often fail to provide what our nervous systems actually need. You're not too sensitive. You're not antisocial. You're not damaged. You're someone whose brain and nervous system require a specific type of connection to register as truly belonging. And in a world that prioritizes quantity, breadth, and performance over quality, depth, and authenticity, that kind of loneliness is almost inevitable. But here's the empowering truth: once you understand what you actually need, you can stop forcing yourself into social situations that will never fulfill you and start building the specific types of connection that will. Practical wisdom: 3 principles. 1. Your loneliness is data, not a defect. It's your nervous system telling you that something about your current social experience isn't meeting your needs. Listen to it rather than shame it. 2. Connection style diversity is real. Just like some people are introverts and others extroverts, some people need depth and others need breadth. Neither is superior. Stop trying to be satisfied with a connection style that doesn't match your wiring. 3. Healing happens in relationship. Ironically, the cure for feeling lonely in groups isn't more time alone. It's finding or creating relationships where authentic connection is possible, then gradually learning to trust that safety. Empowerment message: if you've spent years feeling like something is wrong with you because you can't seem to feel connected even when surrounded by people, I want you to hear this: there is nothing wrong with you. You're not failing at relationships. You're succeeding at recognizing that the kind of relationships available to you haven't matched what you need. The loneliest people are often the deepest people. They feel lonely in groups because they're seeking something most people don't even know exists: authentic, vulnerable, meaningful connection. That's not a weakness. That's a sophistication of emotional need that our surface-level social world hasn't caught up to yet. Call to growth. The question isn't how to stop feeling lonely in groups. The question is, what would need to be different about those groups for you to feel connected? What depth is missing? What authenticity is being suppressed? What understanding isn't happening? And then the real question: are you willing to seek out or create the kinds of connections your soul is actually hungry for, even if it means having fewer connections overall? So the next time you're in a room full of people and feel that familiar ache of loneliness, remember this: you're not broken. Your nervous system is functioning exactly as it should, detecting that what's happening around you isn't creating the safety and depth required for genuine connection. The people who feel lonely in groups aren't the ones failing at relationships. They're often the ones most capable of profound connection. They just refuse to settle for the shallow version most of social life offers. And maybe, just maybe, your loneliness isn't the problem. Maybe it's the invitation. An invitation to stop performing. To stop pretending surface level connection is enough. To stop apologizing for needing depth in a world satisfied with breadth. Your loneliness is pointing you toward what you actually need. Listen to it. If this resonated with your experience or helped you understand someone you love, share it. Comment one thing you recognized in yourself. Subscribe if you want more content that sees you. Remember, you're not too much. You're not too complicated. You're not impossible to connect with. You just need the right kind of connection. And that's not only valid, it's beautiful.